I mean, just what a moment for this franchise, for these fans. I mean, there were only 12,000 fans here, but it was loud. They were celebrating a very close game, maybe a little closer than some people would have wanted. But regardless, this team is in survive and advance mode, and they survived today, and they are in the playoffs.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, they knew they had to have this game. They knew they needed it, obviously, and just the feeling, the energy in the stadium after they won, it was really fun to be here and to see that. It was fun to see Baker celebrating with the fans and waving his hands and the fist bump after the keeper. There was just a lot of emotion. There was Myles Garrett running over to Mason Rudolph. So there was just so much going on in this stadium, so many good feelings. Like you said, it was a little closer than the Browns obviously wanted it to be, but they finished it off, and that's all they needed to do. They needed to win this game and get into the tournament. They are in the tournament for the first time since 2002, longest streak in the NFL snapped. 17 straight seasons with no playoffs. That is over now for long-suffering Browns fans.
Not just long-suffering Browns fans, but you think about a guy like, a Joel Bitonio, who's been here since 2014. J.C. Tretter came here the year they went 0-16. Myles Garrett was drafted that year. Jarvis Landry came here in 2018 and talked about wanting to change the culture, and this was sort of, he kind of represented a lot of things for this organization in that regard. So for the fans, obviously this is big, but there's a lot of players too in that locker room, even with all the turnover that has happened over the years here. There are a lot of players in that room that really, I'm sure, are just cherishing this opportunity.
Yeah, there really are. I mean, it was just, it was an emotional time afterwards. You could tell how much it means to guys like Joel Bitonio, Myles Garrett, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, guys that have been around for a long time, not necessarily here the whole time even. Jarvis obviously was in Miami first, but this, they wanted this one really bad. You could tell Nick Chubb, I mean, just from the very first run of this football game, that he wanted this, right? They know how much it means to the city. They know how much it means to each other. This is a close-knit football team. They've gotten to know each other. They care about each other. They're running through walls for each other. They love their coach. I mean, there's just a lot of really good things going on with this team right now.
I'll say this, listening to all these guys on Zoom, listening to Kevin Stefanski on Zoom, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Joel Bitonio, I think there was excitement, but I don't know. I got the sense that this message of they're not done yet, that it's, there's more work to be done. I feel like that certainly is something that got delivered to these players in that locker room, in that celebratory locker room, that, enjoy this, but they're not satisfied with this.
Yeah, that's absolutely 100% correct. To a man, they were all saying, you know what, we haven't done what we want to do yet. We're happy that we punched the ticket to get into the tournament, but now we've got to keep going. And that's how this team has operated all season long. Focused on the next game, Kevin Stefanski does a great job of doing that. And Baker Mayfield is one of the ones that I think that more so than anyone has really tried to say, there's a new standard in town. So he's trying to almost educate the fans and sort of heal the fans of all these long suffering years to say, look, just getting to the playoffs, that's not what we're all about. We want to go to the Super Bowl. Joel Bitonio talked about the Super Bowl a lot the other day. I mean, these guys are in it to win it. They're not here, just to, let's see what it feels like to go to the playoffs. Like, that's not what they want. I mean, they already know, I know why they are already thinking this way, because they know that they have to go into Heinz Field and try to beat this football team that almost just beat them. Both sides had a lot of guys out. Both sides have a lot of guys out. Both sides are going to get a lot of guys back next week. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be hard fought. It's going to be intense. It's going to be crazy. And they know what faces them now by having to go into Heinz Field and try to beat Big Ben and the Steelers.
Let's talk real quickly about what we saw in this football game specifically. Like I mentioned off the top, it was not a pretty football game. I do feel like Kevin Stefanski kind of kept things a little bit close to the vest today. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if he just felt like that's what he could do. I'm going to ask our buddy Doug about this in the post-game show, because he yelled at me when I suggested that might happen this week. I'm curious to see kind of what they look like next week. because it felt today like they kind of did just enough to beat the Steelers kind of second and third teamers. And I think we'll definitely see a very different Steelers team, but we're going to see a very different Browns team too, I think.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Yes, I think we will see a very different team on both sides. But what was interesting about today, I thought, is that Mason Rudolph brought something. Now, Ben did get it back against the Colts in the second half, but
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph brought that long ball, right? I mean, he had passes of 41, 41, and 47. Now, a lot of that is because Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson were both out this game. What we don't know yet is, and this is important, we don't know if either of those guys are going to be back for the Steelers game. We just don't know that yet. Denzel Ward will be cutting it close. Kevin Johnson, I don't know if he's a positive or if Kevin Johnson is a close contact. I've been trying to figure that out since yesterday, and I don't know. But if they don't have Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson back, then they are going to be vulnerable again to that big play. And I was thinking today, if Ben can't hit it, they could bring Mason Rudolph in off the bench occasionally, like they did today with Dobbs, to to kind of platoon things a little bit. So that'll be interesting to watch as they go forward. But yeah, I do think that Kevin might have played it a little bit close to the vest today, and I think they really just wanted to protect the football. I think they knew that the number one thing for them was to not lose the turnover battle. That's their formula. It's to try to get turnovers, and they got a huge one from MJ Stewart that was basically the difference in the game. So that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to use the heck out of Nick Chubb, let him run the ball. He had over 100 yards, went over 1,000, got the party started with a 47-yard touchdown. But you're right. I think they did kind of play it a little close to the vest. You didn't see too many shots downfield. I mean, they've got Minkah Fitzpatrick. They've got guys that can go back there and pick off the ball. They didn't have Joe Hayden. I don't think they're even going to have Joe Hayden for their playoff game, also based on COVID-19.
Look, COVID is going to have an effect on the playoffs. That's just how it's going to be. We've seen it already, ways it's going to affect the playoffs. And I would imagine, I'm not saying it's going to be this team specifically, but there will be teams this week that are going to be going into playoff games, and COVID is going to impact who they do and don't have available beyond what we've already seen.
Yeah. I mean, what the Browns have to hope is, I mean, it's been a really stressful 2 weeks of COVID tests and shutdowns and all that kind of stuff. They have to hope that they've gotten through the worst of it, because they cannot have the kind of week where they're wondering if Jarvis is going to play and they're wondering if Baker's going to, I mean, they just can't have that. They need everybody that they can get. They should get some guys back for this game. They don't know if they're going to get Harrison Bryant back. They don't know for sure if they're going to get Malcolm Smith back. And like I said, they don't know if they're going to have Denzel Ward back. What they don't need is more guys going on the COVID list. They need a full complement. They need a full roster of players to try to go in to Pittsburgh and try to win this football game so that they can advance in the playoffs. They're not happy with just getting here.